to young scholars of today's webinar, Ms. Kheya and Mr. Ashribad Das. Today, in the first session, Ms. Kheya is with us. She is the PhD scholar in North Bengal University, Calcutta. Today, she will speak on the topic self-sacrifice and happiness. I'll welcome Ms. Kheya. I also welcome Professor Pramod Kumar Das, the host, a convener of Fellowship Family, who has also supervised Kheya while uh, preparing different research articles. I welcome Dr. K. Rao, the regular moderator of Fellowship Family, to be with us. Thanks so much. With this, I also welcome Professor Ranjit Ghosh and other senior professor to be with us. Now, I would like to welcome Alok Tandon sir is also with us. I extend my gratitude to him to be with us in this academic platform. Now, I would like to request Ms. Kheya, the PhD scholar, North Bengal University, to speak on his topic, self-sacrifice and happiness, a part of hedonistic philosophy. Over to Ms. Kheya.
Namaste. Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahabiryankarbabhai Tejasvinabadhitamastu Ma Vidvishabhai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. A very good evening to my respected professors and all respected dignitaries and my friends present here today. Today, the title of my topic is Self-Sacrifice and Happiness. To begin my discussion, let us start with a story, a simple story that we all are acquainted with. I hope I'm totally audible. Sir, I'm totally audible, right, sir? Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So let us start with a story. Once in a village, there was a farmer and he had a goose who used to lay golden eggs every day. And the farmer used to sell that golden egg in market and was living a quite comfortable life. One day he thought that that by collecting the golden eggs one by one and selling them one by one, I cannot become rich in one day, right? So he thought that if I cut the goose, then I can accumulate all the eggs, all the golden eggs at once, and I'll become rich. I will become the richest, right? Richest person in the world. So the next morning he went to the farm and he cut the goose. And what was the result? I think all of us already know about it. And now let us come to the context of my topic. That before, in the lap of Mother Nature, human beings were living comfortably. Like Mother Nature, like the goose, used to provide us enough fresh air, fresh water, fresh vegetables to live a healthy and a happy livelihood. But as we all know, human beings are quite unsatisfied in nature. So they thought that why not accumulate all the wealth of Mother Nature at once? So they started to force it to produce as much as he wanted and to produce as soon as possible. But the result came something opposite, we see. What happened? We see that the giant industries are there to produce as much as possible from the natural forces. And We see that people in greed, they are cutting trees, they are turning the forests, green forests, into deserts. And we also see that the nations are preserving atom bombs and so much powerful weapons which can destroy the total human civilization in this earth. So what are we doing actually? What is happening actually? What is the result? Because we know that no action goes in vain. Every action um, comes with a fruit of it, right? We see that just like the farmer, he in greed he cut the goose, and by this he destroyed his comfortable future, the possibility of his comfortable future. Similarly, by destroying the mother nature, day by day, gradually, what are we doing? We are actually choking the throat of the very possibility of our healthy existence in this earth. And due to this unchecked greed and selfishness, due to the unchecked exercise of this greed and selfishness of human beings, we find that a huge division is taking place, within society. One is of the exploiter and another is of the exploited. Now, let us first talk about the exploited, because we are dealing with happiness today. So, what about the happiness of exploited ones? We know that exploited ones, since they are alienated from their properties and rights, so there is no doubt that they are already suffering from poverty, illiteracy, diseases, etc. Now the question comes that then what about the exploiter? We understood that the exploited group is already suffering. They are not happy. Hmm. And then let us come to the question that what about the exploiter group? Are they happy? Because they have accumulated enough, much more than they needed. So they must be happy, right? But the reply is no. Why? When we come to Kathu Upanishad, we see Nuchiketa, the little boy, the little Brahmin boy, he's saying beautifully and so correctly, he's saying, No vittena tarpaniya manushyaha. That is, wealth can never satisfy human beings because the thirst of wealth is unquenchable. Now, if we take the example of Shakespeare's Macbeth, the famous work of Shakespeare, Macbeth, we see that Macbeth was a Scottish general, and one day, three witches told him that he will become the king of Scotland, right? So he came home and he discussed it with his wife, and his wife encouraged him a lot and told him to invite the king of Scotland. And they did a conspiracy to kill the king so that Macbeth will get the throne. So, as suggested by his wife, Macbeth killed the king of Scotland, and consequently, he achieved the throne of Scotland. But was he happy? He was not. We see Shakespeare beautifully showed that how self-regret, that is Atma Glani, just swallowed up Macbeth bit by bit because of his act, right? Similarly, my question is that then the exploiter group who have become so rich, materially so much rich just by mischief, are they happy? Do they not have the same conscience within themselves? Though we see that one group is really materially wealth, materially enough rich, right? They are they have enough material wealth. But what about their mental wealth? We see that the exploiters, by exercising selfishness, not only endanger the happiness of the exploited group, but also exploits themselves, exploits their mental health. How? By suffering through self regret, that is Atmaglani, and insecurity. That Atmaglani, one may say that some people are there who just do not have that kind of sense, but I think that to some extent it works in our subconscious mind though. And why insecurity? There's a beautiful concept of osteo when we will come to Jainism. It says that never steal anyone's wealth. Why? Because if you steal anyone's wealth, then thereby you make a room for your wealth being stolen by someone else. For example, in a village, there used to live a group of people, and they had so much trust on each other that whenever they used to go outside, they did not used to lock their doors, right? Now, suppose one person did a mischief. He entered in someone's room and stole something, some wealth of that person. And from the next day, everyone of that village started to give a lock to their door. Right. And what the thief did? Was the thief an exception? No. The thief also had to put one lock in his door. So we see that by mischief or by exploiting, if anyone tries to accumulate much more material wealth, then also they cannot get the true happiness. They cannot, because by this act of mischief, they endanger themselves indirectly. All right. Now, in this context, I would like to highlight a beautiful line from the famous movie directed by Satyajit Roy. That is Gupi Gain Baghabain. There is a famous line. It is said. I would like to sing two lines from there. এক যে ছিল রাজা তার ভারী দুঃখ দেখো রাজা কাঁদে রাজা বেচারা রাজার ভারী দুঃখ দুঃখ কিসে হয় অভাগার অভাবে যেন শুধু নয় যার সংসারে রাশি রাশি সোনা দানা ঠাসি তারও হয় যেন সেও সুখী নয়. What is this song saying? It is saying that there used to be a king who was very unhappy. And now the question is that why one becomes unhappy? What is the cause of suffering? Here it is beautifully written that poverty is not only the cause of suffering. The person who has enough wealth in his home, they are also not happy, right? And there's a beautiful quotation here that যারে তারে দিয়ে শাস্তি রাজা কখনো স্বস্তি পাবে কি রাজা ভাবে কি. That is, by punishing his pupils without any reason, can the king be ever be happy? No, he cannot. Now, here one beautiful sentence is again I would like to point out, because just for the clarity of the concept that I'm trying to give, the idea that I'm trying to give in my speech today, it is saying that দুঃখ কিসে যায় প্রাসাদিতে বন্দির বড় দায় একবার ত্যাজিয়ে সোনার গদি রাজা মাঠে নেমে যদি হাওয়া খায় তবে রাজা শান্তি পায়. Now they are asking that how these sufferings, how can we get out from the sufferings? It is saying that it is very hard to stay to live within the prasad. By this it is trying to mean that to stay within a boundary, within a limited boundary is it is full of suffering. Now if the king can leave his throne for one time and come to the fields and enjoy the air, then he will feel the ultimate peace within. How and what is the intended meaning of these lines? If we try to go a bit deeper, we will see that if the king realizes that actually he and his pupils are not separate, they are very much interconnected, interdependent on each other, then only the king can become happy, right? So we see that the king cannot be happy as long as he will be punishing his pupils. Similarly, the exploiters can never be happy as long as they will be exploiting others, they will be hampering the happiness of others, because we all are interdependent. All right. So it is advised here that the realization of one unity underlying everything, or the realization of interdependence of us, is as important to the common people as to the king, right? Is as important to the king as to the common people. All right. So this was one point, that is interdependent, interdependent, dependent. Okay, the sense of interdependence. We have to acquire the realization of our interdependence, that we are not separate from each other. All forms of life are actually interdependent on each other. All right. Now let us come to the second point, that how can we acquire happiness. The second point that I have highlighted here is that we saw that neither exploiter and nor exploited is happy in this game, right? Then what is the way to happiness? The reply, when if we come to Indian philosophy, the reply will be self-sacrifice, that is atma tyaga. And what do I mean by self-sacrifice here? I mean the sacrifice of our limited self-interests, that is prayer, the sacrifice of prayer, the sacrifice of selfishness, okay, and performing the duties which will ensure the well-being of all, right? Now, if anyone asks that why to sacrifice? Can't we be happy with whatever we have, like that? Then the reply is no, because self-sacrifice, sacrificing the selfishness, sacrificing our limited self-interests, is not only an ideal, is not only an utopian ideal or a mere ideal, but it is the very law of survival. It is the very necessity of survival. How? Let us take an example of our food chain in environment. Well, we all survive. And how do we survive? If we take a close look, if we observe closely, then we will understand that every day the nature sacrifices a portion of it, either in the form of corn or in the form of vegetables or fish. Only then we, on the basis of it, on depending on it, we survive, right? So if Mother Nature wouldn't have sacrificed even a little portion, we would be unable, we would be unable to survive at all. Now, when we come to Chandogya Upanishad, we find a beautiful line, how it is comparing the human life with the pure sacrament. It is saying, Purusho Bhava Yagyaha. That is, the whole human life is a pure sacrament. The whole human life is a sacrifice. And here, one is advised to put his life force in the form of putting oblation to the pure sacrament ongoing throughout his life. If we come to Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, we find that realizing the truth, he beautifully says, Jagote Anando Joge Amar Nimantrano. And so, following this attitude, as advised by the Upanishad, the very spirit of our every action, or the very goal of our every action, should be Tyaga and Sheva. Tyaga, what do I mean by it here? Tyaga, that is the self-sacrifice, that I have highlighted in the very title, Tyaga or self-sacrifice, or the sacrifice of our selfishness, and Sheba, that is performing the duties which will ensure the well-being of all, performing our duties which will ensure the well-being of all. This is how we can accumulate happiness. This was the second point. Now let us come to the third point that I have highlighted in my discussion. That is, there is one beautiful concept in Indian philosophy that just by getting the knowledge of it, one will be inclined to do to do the actions, to perform the duties, and which will bring the well-being of all, and he will be inclined to perform self-sacrifice, right? How? Okay. We see that there is a concept of Rina, right? It says in Indian philosophy that we are indebted to our ancestors, we are indebted to our gurus, our teachers, we are indebted to our gods, to the mother nature, to the Panchabhutas, to our friends, to our pupils. Like that, there are few types of Rina they are mentioning, like Pitri Rina, Rishi Rina, Deva Rina, Bhuta Rina, Bundhu Rina, Manusha Rina, like that. So, if one gets elevated by the sense that we are indebted to one another, we are owed to this mother nature, then I think spontaneously the actions which will follow in our day-to-day life from our this kind of attitude will be obviously the acts of self-sacrifice, because why will we think that we are indebted to each other? Why we will think that we are indebted to mother nature? This is very much clear to us that we are surviving because of the sacrifice of mother nature every day, right? And if we come to the case of friends, our debt to our friends, and who are our friends? All forms of living creatures are our friends. Like trees are our friends, the bees, the elephants, and all the forms of life are our friends. And how they are friends, if anyone asks, we know that it is like already proved by science that if any species gets extinguished today, and already some species are getting extinguished because of the mischievous acts of human beings, because of the selfish acts of human beings. And it is proved in the science that if any sir, will you please mute, sir, will you please mute your mic? Okay, thank you. So we see that if any one species gets extinguished from this earth, then the very question of our existence, like it also shakes, right? The very existence, the very guarantee of our existence, the in further future gets shaken, right? So we see that every species, all forms of life are here interrelated with each other, interdependent with each other. So we are indebted to each other. This sense of indebtedness will give rise to the actions which will be inspired by self-sacrifice. And no doubt today this is the biggest requirement um, in all spheres of our life. And as a student of philosophy, and philosophy being a part of social science, I think one of the most important contribution that any student of philosophy or any social science can contribute today is by focusing on how this balance and harmony which we are losing in all spheres of our life can be again maintained, can be again found. How can we bring the balance again in all spheres of our life? All right, so I think Indian philosophy can play a big role here. So, following this philosophy, following these ideas, I think the motto of our action should be ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. I think this should be the motto of our each and every action, because we know that every action of each of us keeps a ripple in this society, brings a ripple in this society. So we must be very careful about our each action, and we should be we should focus on how we should think, and how we can create a better attitude towards life following Indian philosophy. And I think this mantra of self-sacrifice, in the sense of our interdependence and the aspiration for the well-being of for the well-being of all, in sense of our indebtedness to all, we can create a better life for all, a better life that will ensure happiness and health and balance and harmony in all spheres of our life. So here I would like to conclude with two beautiful lines sang by Tagore, that is, আমি বহু বাসনায় প্রাণপণে চাই বঞ্চিত করে বাঁচালে মোরে. Thank you so much. Here I'm concluding. Thank you. Namaste.
Hello. Okay, thanks so much, dearest Kheya, for your extempore speech on self-sacrifice and
Thank
happiness.
you, sir.
The today the way you reflected your thought on the topic has touched all of us, and your soothing voice, clarity in thinking, clarity in presentation imply the potency of an excellent speaker within you. So we bless you. Today you have very beautifully cited the example of the popular story of golden eggs and the thoughts of Chandogya Upanishad, Kathopanishad, the thoughts of Rabindranath Tagore, Shakespearean thought, and illustration of Satish Rai's films, and many other thoughts to stand on your theme, self-sacrifice and happiness. And you have also reflected on the beauty of Indian ethics and Indian tradition. You ended with a very good stroker, and in which you have prayed for bringing a good balance in every walks of life, and you have said you have prayed for the good action and good attitude and good aspiration of all of us for the welfare of everybody in a society. Thanks so much for your clarity of thought and your soothing voice while presenting the entire talk. Thanks so much, Kea. Now we have
for Kheya Roy. Well, he her ideas are very much very much, I see, very philosophical, very profound. Mm, um, what is this? You talk of self surrender. Okay, what is this self surrender? How do you see this self surrender? What do you mean by self surrender here? In your talk, you are very quick, you are very topic. Okay, you are trying to say self surrender and happiness. What is this self surrender? How do you think this self surrender will bring you happiness? Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Uh, So first of all, I would like to clarify the point that I did not use the term self-surrender. Rather, I used the term self-sacrifice in my discussion. And
Yes. Self
yes,
sacrifice. Sorry, self sacrifice. Yes. What
okay,
is the
it's
sacrifice?
all
Yes.
right. Yes, self-sacrifice. Whenever we hear this word, some of us really find a vague idea regarding it. That what is self-sacrifice? if we go through the Indian philosophies, then we will understand that it is trying to say that sacrificing the prayer, that is the Choto Ami. If we come to Rabindranath Tagore's philosophy, he is talking about two types of egos. One is Choto Ami, another is Bodo Ami. If we come to Ramkrishna Paramhamsa Dev's philosophy, then we find he is defining it as Kacha Ami, Paka Ami. So what are these two? And when we come to Upanishad, we find two concepts having the same idea. One is Preya and Shreya. So Preya or Choto Ami or Kacha Ami, these all indicate to our limited self-interests. That is the interests for just myself. Okay, whatever I desire for myself only. And Shreya is that desire of us which is motivated by the collective interest or the interest of all, the interest of the society. And in case of prayer, it is very favorite to one. No? That is why it is termed as prayer. And when we come to Tagore, he will indicate it by the term. Just the terminologies are different. We will see that very amazingly these concepts the concepts had been the same. Some concepts had been the same throughout the philosophers and philosophies in Indian culture, but the terminologies are used different. So and Shreya is that which ensures the well-being of all, right? Like in case of an individual, it ensures the well-being of both mind and body, and in case of the society, it brings the well-being of both the individual as well as his surroundings. So this is that kind of action. Shreya is that kind of action. And whenever I'm talking about self-sacrifice, I'm talking about the sacrifice of selfishness or the limited self-interests. That is the sacrifice of the prayer, sacrifice of our limited self, or that is Choto Ami or Kacha Ami in the words of Ramkrishna Paramhamsa Dev. That is what I intend to mean. And from here, how do we reach to happiness? Is that first of all, when we focus no, I want to eat the whole cake. When this kind of attitude comes, suppose we have a cake, and I think that no, my greed is all in all. Okay, I do not need to think for anyone else. My life, my business. This thought, this kind of attitude, whenever coming in our head, we are becoming selfish, right? And another kind of thought is coming in our head that I and you are separate. You are not me, I am not you. So I will take care of me only, not you. This kind of mentality, whenever is coming in our head, this selfishness, this Choto Ami is always playing in our head. Then we get inspired to do the actions which which will cultivate only our self-interest, so which will cultivate the fruits which I just need, right? And we see that as a social being, man is a social being. Man is a social being. He cannot live alone, right? For example, the example of cake I was taking, that if I think that I will eat the whole cake, if I eat the whole cake, then also can I be happy? The next day I will have some stomach issues, right? So this is what the Upanishad and other philosophers are trying to say, that even if you accumulate all the wealth, even if you reach your greeds, no, the objects of your greed, then also you cannot be happy. The same thing was intended to say by Mr. Ashirvad Das. And that is how when we share, if we share the cake, if I share the cake with my brothers and sisters, then the food becomes more delicious. It is just as simple as that. If we just focus on our self-interest, then though even if we accumulate all the objects of our greed, at the end of the day, we cannot be truly happy. That is the thing. And I noted from Nochiketa's dialogue to Yama, he's saying that no bittena tarpaniya manusha. It is the truth, it is the fact that our desire is unquenchable. So we need to practice the acts of self-sacrifice. Sharing our wealth with all. Only then we can acquire the true happiness. Just like if we come to Brihadaranyaka, just with this one quote, I would like to conclude my this answer. We see that in the day of convocation, Lord Brahma is giving advice to his three disciples. That is the. It is what these three words mean. Now, these three letters mean so beautifully Atma Damana, number one, that is practice self control. Number two, Dana, that is share your wealth with all, right? And number three is Doya, be kind to all. And in my present discussion, I have focused on Dana, and the first one, Dhamma, that is Atma Damana. And by the culture of this only, we can attain a balanced lifestyle, and only a healthy and balanced, harmonious lifestyle can lead us to happiness, a truly happy life. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Uh,
Namaste.
um, my yes, yes. Here in the philosophy of hedonism, we have come across ethical happiness and psychological happiness. In Indian ethics, there is also the concept of spiritual happiness. But what is the stand while discussing the self-sacrifice and happiness? One thing. And the second thing that you have talked up the self-regret or atmaglani. Then do you think that self-regret or atmaglani is a way for self-sacrifice which can lead to the real happiness in life? And what is the stand on happiness? That is, which kind of happiness that you mean?
Okay, sir, thank you. Sir, as much I could understand the questions, I will try to reach, I'll try to address my best. So first question is that you asked about the three levels of happiness, maybe ethical happiness, psychological happiness, and spiritual happiness, right, sir? And how can we reach to this through self-sacrifice? Sir, was it the first question?
Actually, what is the stand or which kind of happiness that you are meaning?
Okay,
Okay,
okay, sir.
very good.
Thank you, sir. Sir, if we, I think, sir, here psychological happiness I can talk about, because spiritual happiness is going to the highest ladder. It is the highest ladder. Since I am here talking about the ethics, ethics is just the process. It is the means to lead to spiritual happiness, the highest realization of Atma Vidya or Atma Jnana. And when we will have the realization of Atma Jnana that I am the Brahman, only then I can reach to the spiritual happiness. So I'm not talking about spiritual happiness. By happiness here, I was focusing on the first 2 points, that is the ethical happiness or psychological happiness that you noted. I'm focusing on the psychological happiness and ethical happiness only. All right. And the second question was, sir, what was the question?
That is actually, do you think that
Atmaglani. Yeah.
self-regret or atmaglani leads to self-sacrifice, which can again lead to happiness?
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, I think that when one suffers from atmaglani or self-regret after doing one act of mischief, right? Suppose if I steal something from someone, and later on, or if I behave badly with someone, rudely with someone, and later on I will have the guilt that why I behaved like this. And I think, sir, this feeling, this realization of self regret or guilt or grief within me will work on, because what Swami Vivekananda says, that whatever acts we perform leaves a stamp on our character. So I think that a person who will feel the sense of self regret, the burning sense of self regret after doing a mischievous act, will obviously try to do better, or try not to do the same fault in his next action. Right. So I think somehow or other this self regret or atmoglani will lead someone to this performing the acts of self sacrifice, that he will understand the previous act was not right, and he will try to be a better person by performing better actions. And by performing better actions, whenever he will be doing something for the well-being for all, instead of thinking for himself only, a joy comes spontaneously, whether we call it happiness or whatever we name it, a joy comes, no doubt. Okay, sir.
Okay, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, you put it this.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, audible, audible.
Thank you. Miss Kheya Rai spoke about, she focused on self realization, and she claimed self realization is possible by the dialectics of self regret, atmaglani, and self sacrifice. It is possible. Self realization is the goal, that is the ultimate goal, and that ultimate goal can be achieved, can be attained by both the possibilities. If someone is not good and he is having the regret, then that is also a way to attain the perfection. Visada Yoga, Bhagavad Gita starts with Visada Yoga, and Bhagavad Gita ends with Mukhya Sannyasa Yoga. So this is the transformation. So it is possible. But self-realization is the goal. And the second is self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice means we have to sacrifice the lower self. The self which is very much inclined to the worldly things and affairs. Sacrifice of attachment, unnecessary attachment. Sacrifice does not mean that you should sacrifice your duty. You have to sacrifice your attachment, unnecessary desires, your ego sense of agency, sense of individuality. You have to sacrifice all these things. Ashirvada said that we can be happy by removing the shadows of happiness. So far as there is shadow, there is darkness. There is the absence of light. That in small extent or in the higher extent, there is absence. So far as there is shadow. So we have to remove the shadow that is created by us, that is not given by nature, that is not sanctioned by God. The shadow, the self-created shadow should be removed for attaining the state of bliss. What is that shadow? He said that the very important shadow is, one minute. Okay. So we have to remove that shadow. We have to remove that shadow. That shadow should be removed. And what is that shadow? The very painful shadow is our misunderstanding about happiness. We misunderstand and we suffer. We misunderstand what is the real happiness. We think and we are very much convinced that happiness is the result of our attachment with the material object. This is the wrong, this is the misconception. So we have to remove, this is one example of shadow. There are many facets of shadowness. So we have to remove that shadow to attain the light, the bliss, the state of bliss. That means we should be aware of the real source of happiness. And he gave the example that if you are really aware, then you must be aware of the present function of your body and your brain, and also your psychic mind. What is happening at the present? Even when we are talking, you are inhaling, you are exhaling. The moment you are talking, you are also conscious of the audience, conscious of everything, conscious of your surroundings. So that is that. So we have to remove that shadow, and that is at our hand. That is the meaning of education. If we claim that we are really educated, then the primary goal is at least we shall try to remove the shadows of unhappiness. So here also, as Kheya made a dialectics between two opposites, self-regret and self-sacrifice, in order to attain in order to have self-realization. Here Asirad also spoke about that ultimate self-realization by the dialectics of the light and the shadow, happiness and unhappiness. If we know what is the source of unhappiness, therefore Buddha said life is full of suffering. Buddha did not say that, did not start his philosophy by saying that there is happiness everywhere. So that is also possible. That is also possible if we understand the opposite. What is unhappiness? What is regret? What is disappointment? What is visada? So this is also one method. Both Kheya and Asirvad gave two models. First model is self-realization is possible by the person who is mentally disturbed, confused, distressed, and also by the person who is Sthitaprajna, who is sound, who is educated. That is possible. And here Asirvad said that if we are really educated, if we are really cultured, if we are really transformed, then at least we shall try to remove the shadow of our suffering. Anything that is the cause of my suffering, I shall remove that shadow in order to see the light of happiness. And that is possible by knowing the dialectics of both happiness and unhappiness. Thank you all.